Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and this Python tutorial series. In the last video, we saw the concepts of object-oriented programming about encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Also, we saw the three-axis specifiers like the public, private, and protected. In this video, we are going to take our application a step further and we will see the concept of file handling. Also, we will add extra functionalities in our application. Okay, so let's begin with that. Now, first thing we will need is to do the file handling thing. So generally in real application or real world applications, we have database like SQL database or MongoDB database, which is NoSQL database, or a file stored on a remote server. So we just use these database and store our data in that. What we are going to do, we're just going to have a file, which is going to be a JSON file, which will act as our database. Okay, so we just create a file over here in the same folder known as JSON, like .json. So let's go over here and let's say def insert in file. Okay, so this will take first parameter as self. Okay, now to insert in a file, we'll do a very normal operation, which is open the file, add the content, and close the file. When we close the file is already saved, so we don't need to do any specific thing for that. So how to do that? We will first open a file, so we'll take a variable file equal to open, and this takes two parameters. So we need to give the name of the file or the path of the file. So we give the name of the file if the file is in the same folder where we run this code, or we give the path along with the name of the file when the file is, we want the file to be written somewhere on the other destination in the same in your system. So in this case, I'm going to do it in the same folder. So I'll say record.json, like a simple file, and I want this to have a permission of write. I will say w. Now once I have w, like I have the write access, so there is another access which is append. So when you append in the file with the a, so instead of w you write here a for append, it will add the record or add your new content after your previous content. So suppose in my records.json there are already 10 contents, my 11th content will come after the 10th content. Okay, but if I use w, then all those 10 contents will get rewritten and there would be just one content, which is my 11th content. So let's see why I'm still using w over here. So we have w like with write access, and now we will say file.write. So we'll just write something random over here in JSON file, though it's a JSON file, so we'll still write random, but we'll just later modify it according to the normal JSON standard. So I will stay here something like this. Let's just for sake and close this, and then we will just say emp dot insert in file. And now when I run this code, sorry, here it created a file and it has some random content in this. So if this was a text file, this won't show an error. So you could, like, if I just convert it into a text file for say, or rather let's do like this, let's create another file, let's say records.txt, and let's write in that. So if I write in that record.txt, we have something content going in, and if I use the append now and if I write again in that, so here we have that appended at the end over here. This is how append and write works. So we don't need this records.txt, we'll just remove that, and let's go back to our JSON file. So in the JSON file, so if you are new to JSON, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. So is this like a way of formatting data? It's like a format of data. So it's generally in key value pair. So in the previous video, we saw the concept of dictionary. So you can consider JSON is nothing but the dictionary, like in the format of dictionary. And we have multiple dictionaries. Then this file will be nothing but a list of all dictionaries. Okay, so it would be something like this. It would be list. So list becomes a square bracket, and then all dictionaries will come one after the other like this. Okay, so let's create our record in this format. So how to do it? First, we have this file open, write and close. Now we'll keep this here as it is, but we will do it the other way as well. So we will use with. But before that, let's first format our data into JSON format so that we can put it over straight in the file. So what we are going to do, we are going to say here def, and we need content. So whatever content we get, we have to put it in the file. In this case, our content is name, ID, salary, and role with a key value pair. So I will here say format to string, or rather format to JSON. Okay. So whatever dictionary we have, we will do that format to JSON string, actually JSON string. Okay, so we have self, and what we are going to do, we first gonna create the dictionary. So let's create a dictionary first. So say content dictionary, and this content dictionary will have the dictionary as like this. So it will be ID, which would be self dot ID, a private thing, so private variable, so we just need to put it like that. Then we have name, which is going to be self dot name. We have role, which is going to be self dot role, and we have salary, which is going to be self dot, and this is a protected variable, so sorry, salary. Okay, so once we have this, what we need to do, we need to convert this dictionary to a string and send it back to our insert in file so that it can put it in the file. Why we are doing like this? Because the content in the file is nothing but a string format when we retrieve from it. Okay, so when we read the file, the content we get, it's going to be always in a string format. So that's why we need to write the content in a string format only. Okay, so let's go over here before class employee. Now to convert a dictionary to JSON string, we use something known as JSON.dumps. Okay, so it's a Python functionality. So we'll say import JSON. Okay, once we have JSON, what we are going to do, we are going to say return JSON.dumps and content dictionary. So whatever dictionary we have received, we will just return it. Okay, whatever dictionary we are creating, we'll convert to the string and return it. Okay. Actually, we can make this function multi-purpose. We can say if there is a content, we just write this content. When there is no user-defined content, we write this content. If there is a user-defined content, we put that user-defined content. So what we are going to do, we will say content provided, and we'll put it blank like this. And here we could say this content dictionary will have this value if content provided is blank. Okay, equal to blank. If content provided is not blank, else it will have the value of content provided. So whatever content we provide, if you notice, I am not giving over here any colon or something, because it's like a, if you know the concept of ternary operators, so this is how you write ternary operation in Python. So instead of question mark and colon, you have if and else. So this value will be assigned to this content dictionary if this condition is true. If this condition is false, that means if we have provided certain content, then this content provided will go into content dictionary. Okay, so now we have this. Now next thing to do is we need to have a function which formats string to JSON. So as we have JSON to string, we need something to string to JSON. Why? You'll come to know why we are doing this. So say format to JSON object, so obj, and here I will take self. Here also I can do the same thing. I can take the string, or I can just write it as it is. So I will take content string, and I will put it as a blank string by default. Okay, now what we need to do, if we are converting it to the JSON format, a JSON object, then whatever we have received, we have to just push it back. So what we are going to receive is nothing but the content. So actually it shouldn't be blank. We will keep it as it is. This is nothing but the content received. So what we are going to do, we will say, so now here we will need try catch block. Why? Because suppose if this string received is not in correct JSON format, it will throw an error. So okay, so let's do like that. So we will say try, and we will say return JSON dot loads and content string. Okay, if there is error somewhere over here, we need to show that error message by finally. So we will say here return string is not in JSON string format. Okay, so a JSON string is nothing but whatever JSON we have like this of these dictionaries, it would be in quotes. So it will begin with quote like this and it will end with quotes like this. So this is a JSON string. Okay, so let's go back over here again. So we have, so I'll just close this like this. Yeah, so we have format to JSON object, we have format to JSON string. Now what we need to do, we need a function to read from the file. Okay, so we'll write a function over here. We will say def read from file, and we will have self over here, and here we whatever content we get, we just pass it back. So we will open the file first and we will use with now. So we'll say with open, name of the file is records.json, what permission, read permission, as file. I can take any variable here, like I can take file1, file2, file3, doesn't matter. Okay, so whatever file I have got, I will say file dot read and I will just return this. So what is this doing this? It's doing nothing differently than this. It's opening the file. So it's like saying file equal to open records.json with R, then file.read and file.close. That's it. File.read is gonna provide us all the JSON, all the string of that file, all the content of that file. So we'll just return that. Okay, so we have this 4 functions extra. Now once this is all set, now let's go in our insert file operation. So what we are going to do here is we will first comment this out and we will start from beginning over here. So here we will say, now once we are inserting in a file, are we inserting a new record or are we inserting the original record? Okay, or sorry, or we are adding another record. So what we are going to do, we will say here content equal to read from file. So I will say read from file. In this case, I need to do self dot read from file, because this read from file is the function of this class, and to access function in, like if I want to access one function into another function, both are, if provided both are in the same class, I can use self or I have to use self. So self dot read from file will call this function. Once we have that content, if there is nothing in that content, we need to do things differently. If there are something, we need to do things differently. So what we are going to do, once we have that content, we will go to this from format to JSON string. Okay, so we need to make a small modification here, like this content, like once we receive from the file, if the file is empty, we need to create a new dictionary and add it to the list, else we have to append it to the old list only. So let's see how to do this. Now if this content is not there, we will say content list dot append, and we will just have this content dictionary. Once this done, we will have here else part. If we already have a content, then what we need to do is we need to give that content to our function, which will then give us the normal list, and then in that list we add the dictionary and push it back again. So here we will say, or rather we can do this in one line actually. So what we will do here, we will say so we will go over here, and so we have this read from file, format to JSON string, format to JSON object. So we will format this to JSON object, whatever the content is, like format to JSON object content, and I guess this should be okay, because if it's a empty string or if it's empty, this will just give us like the empty list. So we can just put this back over here and we can just remove it from here. Let's take it over here and just let's try to just print what we are getting in our content list. I'll say content list, like let's print this content list. I'll say print content list. Okay, so now our JSON file is empty. So let's go to our insert in file. Let's go over here. We are already inserting in it, and let's run this code. So let's go over here. Let's employee, and we are getting an error. Okay, so one uh, like silly mistake I was doing over here was like I don't need this as well. I can just return it over here, and it's the finally it should be accept. Okay, so this let's give it a try. So if I run it again, so okay, this time it works. So sorry for that error. It's instead of finally we just need to write accept. So the only difference is try. So how try catch works is it tries something. If there is an error, it throws over there. So as this was correct, so it was there was no error, so it will just proceed forward. But if there is finally after try, so even after this is correct, it will go to the finally. So it's kind of like okay, try block is correct, but there is finally block. So okay, let's go to the finally block, something like that. So we just write try accept, and then we have finally if we want, else we will just put try and accept. Okay, because we just want to handle errors, so that's why. So now this is done. Now we have format to the string, load to the string. Now let's add to the file. So if we go insert in file, so let's do it over here again. So we will do emp dot insert in file. Okay, this time we will do emp2 because we have emp1. Now let's do emp2. Now if I run this code, okay, so it comes over here and we have something in the file, but it has went to like on a one line. We can always format this JSON with formatters, but that's fine. So we have two records in our file now. Now let's write a code for finding one record, finding all records, and deleting records. So let's write for finding one record. It's pretty simple. What we need to do, we just need to write a function here, def find one record, which is like just single record. So here the first parameter will be self, and then I want to make this function flexible so that a user can find by name or by ID. So what I will do, I will say find by what. So by what they want to find, do they want to find by name or do they want to find by ID? Okay, and then here I will give a value. So whatever value they have provided. If they say the user want to find a person with an employee with ID 123456, then find what would be ID, value would be 123456. Okay, so now let's do next thing. So the next thing we need to do is get the file, convert to JSON object, and then iterate over that JSON object. Whenever we get the record, just return it back. Okay, pretty straightforward. So we'll say content equal to whatever content we get. So we'll say self dot read from file. This content we will pass to our JSON function. So we will say now then we will get a list. So we'll say the next thing we need to do is iterate over that content. So we'll say for item in content list. So each item or each record in content list, we need to say if item and find what, actually this would be find by what equal to value, then we just return that item. That's it. And if the item is returned, the code won't go to the further steps. But if the item is not found, then it will come out of the for loop, and then over here we will say return false. That means item was not found. Okay, so if this function returns false, that means item was not found. Now here we will write, let's test this first. Okay, so we will go over here, we will go and replace this with this, and here we will just print the result of this because it's returning, so we need to print it. We need to say I want to find by ID, and I will say 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now let's run this code and see what we get. If I run this, I get the user with ID 1 2 3 4 5 6. If I do the ID other way around like this, I should get the second record. If I run this, I get the second record. I can also find by name, and here I can say name, so that would be Adi. We need the second record with this, and we get the second record. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure that this key is in the value of those keys that we have. So what we are going to do, we are going to say def check key, okay, and whatever find by what they have given or whatever self comma key, okay. So we will come to this how it works. So what we are going to do, we can either again load the file, read the file, convert it to list and get the keys of all dictionaries, or what we could do, we can define the keys. So we will define the keys. That would be a bit faster, or rather much faster. So we'll say here the allowed keys are, and those are ID, name, role and salary. If the record or if the keys are between this, that's fine. So how we are going to do it, we will say if the key provided in keys, we will say return true. That means the key was from the provided keys. Else we will say return false. Okay, if this statement is not right, it will go over here. Okay, so after we find, like before we find the record, we need to make sure that this key exists. So we will say if self dot check key and find by what. So this key we want to see if it exists or not, and we will put this in one block. Okay, and here okay, we'll put this over here as well, and here we will say return false. So in case if the record is not there, it will just come out, or sorry, if the key is not there, it will just say that it was false, and we'll just need to put the error. Okay, so let's run this find record again. If I run it, it shows me the record. That's fine. But now if I run it with say different key, let's say department, let's see what we get. So we get false. That's correct. So everything is working great so far. So now let's go forward and write a code to find all the records. Okay, so this is somewhat similar to find one record, but instead of returning one record, we will return all the records by appending it in a new list. Okay, or we can use also filter function. Let's see one, like let's first append it to the list. So we'll say def find all records. Here also we will use find by what and value. So we will keep it flexible. Find by what and value. Now next thing to do is again like do the same thing over here. So we will do self.check key. If self.check key, if this is true, then we go here. Else here we will return false. Okay, now here we need to write first, like we need to first read the content. So we'll say read, these two lines will be same. So I'll just put it over here. Oops, sorry. And once we have the content list, now next thing to do is either we can iterate over each content, put it in the new list, or we could use the filter function. Okay, so we will create a new list, empty list, and add the records that we find, and we'll just return it back. So how we will do it, we'll say new list equal to blank list for now. Then we will just copy this piece of code, put it over here like this. Oops, sorry. And if we find that item, instead of returning that item, we will say new list dot append item. Okay, and then at the end of this for loop, we will just return new list. Okay, so we have all the records. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this emp2 one more time. So instead of doing find one record, I'm going to say insert record. So I'll just go insert in file actually. So I'll just go over here and I will say insert in file. Let's run this now. Okay, so we have added the record. Now let's find the record. So we will go back again like this. Okay, not till this. And here we will say find all records. We'll find all the records with name Adi. And if I run this code, let's clear the screen and run this code. So we are getting false. So let's see what's wrong happening here. Oh, sorry, we are passing department. We need to pass name like this. And we have two records here over here. So all the records with name Adi, we have it over here. Now next thing to do is we have all the records. We have one record. Now let's write a code to delete a record. So how to delete a record? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We just go over here and we write a function def delete record. Here we do the same thing, like if we are deleting the record, then we need to first search the record. Do we need to delete or search the record by ID first and then delete that specific record, or we just delete the record by name or some other thing? So what we will do, we'll take that record by that, and I will say here, like I have to write the same code again and again. So I think this is not like this is not proficient. We need to find a way to refactor this as well. So I'll just put it over here. So if this is true, now we just iterate in that list over here. But this time we do it a bit differently. Instead of saying for item in content list, what we say for k or index, rather, that would be more easy. So it doesn't matter what you give the name. So we'll say in range to the length of content list. So whatever the list is, in that if it's in that range, then we will say if content list index and whatever is the index at that index, that dictionaries find by what. So if it's name, so that dictionary's name is equal to value, in this case Adi, then what we are going to do, we are going to use del, which is delete content list index. Okay, and we will, okay, so this is return, so we don't need this, and this goes a bit inside this over here, and let's take, so it's out of indentation, so here it is. Okay, let's put an enter over here. So we have this, so it will delete the record, and here we just need to return something. So what we will do, if the record is deleted, we will set a flag that a record was deleted, so that means it went well. If the flag is not set, that means the record wasn't deleted. So we'll take a flag over here, something like this, flag equal to false, like by default it will be false, and then we will do here, if the record was deleted, that means everything went well, so we'll do flag equal to true, and at the end we will just return that flag. So we'll say return flag. Okay, so if everything went well, that's great. If not, then we will just return that flag. And also we will, instead of returning false or true, if the keys are not present, we will just return -1. Okay, so, or rather, let's do this, let's do the flag 0 1. If it's 0, that means the record was not there and it was not able to delete it. If it's 1, the record was deleted. If it's -1, that means the keys was not found, or the key that provided was not there. Okay, so now let's do this. So instead of find all records, let's go to delete record, and let's delete record with name Adi. If I go over here and just run this, we are getting an error here which said delete record list out of range. Okay, so once we remove that list, so what's happening is, so 0 1 and like all those indexes, like they are getting reshuffled. So the anything at 0 is sorry, if the second one is going up after the first one is deleted. We need to find a way to fix this as well. So let's see how to fix that. Okay, so instead of writing this del, let's write a filter function. So what we will do, we will remove this from here, and here we will say So we will create a list from like we will use this list and then we will just filter it. So what we will do is a new list. So new list equal to, and this would be list, and then we need to write a lambda function over here. So we already have our content list, so we will say lambda, or rather filter, and in this filter we will have our lambda function. So we'll say lambda, and the function is will take one parameter. So in this case we will need to provide the like the each item would be like a parameter. So we'll say x, and let's remove this. We actually don't need this, so let's comment this out and let's bring it back over here. Okay, so new list filter lambda x, and what we will do, we will say, sorry, here if so x and whatever the find by what is, so we'll say find by what not equal to our value. So this will give us all the list that is not equal to our value, because that's what we want. We want to keep all the values except that we want to delete. So this will give us a new list. So let's just give some spacing so it's readable. And once we have this list, we in this filter function, the first is the call is the lambda, and then we need to find the list that we want to filter. So here it would be our content list. Now let's run this code and let's see what we get for our new list. So if I go over here and if I say print new list, so let's see what we get. If I run this code again, and we get our new list of this. Okay, so if I do Aditya over here, let's do it again, we get all the records except Aditya. So now this new list we need to write again in our file. So we need to insert in our file. So we just need these two actually. So here that would be content list. Okay, let's do this. Let's create a function which will just write in file. Okay, so this will be insert in file. We'll do like the normal insert that by creating the object and then insert it, and the other function would be our delete function, which also needs to write in file. So this two line of code, we can either create it in a new function or we can just copy paste it in our delete function. So what I'm going to do for now, I will just copy paste it in our delete function. So I'll go over here, and after I print list, I'll just put it over here. Okay, so I just need to put correct indentation over here, so a bit like this. Okay, and now here, so we have file, and instead of new list, we need to say format to JSON string new, sorry, instead of contents list, it would be new list. So we have our new list, and that comes as a JSON content string. So we open the file and write in the file. So we don't need this, and we also don't need this. We'll see for the flag later. So what we can do, we can just put the flag over here equal to 1. So when we will write in our file, if this new list, so let's see what happens when the record is not found that we are trying to delete. So I'll go over here and I will say new list. Okay, not like this actually, sorry for that. It will be print new list. Okay, so now I'm finding Aditya. Let's find something like random name like this. Let's see what happens. So if I go over here, I get all the list, if I'm correct. So we have this. Oh, I didn't save that. Sorry for that. Yeah, so we are getting all the records. So if we are getting all the records, we don't need to rewrite that file again. Okay, what we want is only to rewrite that file if certain records are found and deleted. in that case, what we need to do here, first we need to get the list, like this list length. If this list length is greater than this list length, then and then only we will put it in the file, else we won't put it in the file. So we'll just comment this out and we will say if content list is greater than new list, and here what we need to do, we need to say length, like this, length of content list is greater than length of new list. In that case, so we can also remove the round brackets. In that case, just insert else flag equal to 0. So that means there is nothing to insert. So let's go over here and over here return flag. Also, if the keys are not found, we just return -1. Okay, now let's try to run this. So we found the record, and if the record is found, we write it over here. Okay, so we have here Aditya. Now let's try to remove Aditya. So we'll say Aditya by name, and if I run this, okay, let's go over here and we have the record of Aditya is being deleted. So that's how you can delete from the file. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we will continue from here and let's see how can we take it forward. So if you like my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you feel this video is worth sharing, please share it with your network. And yes, that's it from me. So till the next time, goodbye and see you in the next video.